The scripture reading this morning is from Psalm 17. Hear me, Lord, my plea is just. Listen to my cry. Hear my prayer. It does not rise from deceitful lips. Let my vindication come from you. May your eyes see what is right. Though you probe my heart, though you examine me at night and test me, you will find that I have planned no evil. My mouth has not transgressed. Though people tried to bribe me, I have kept myself from the ways of the violent, through what your lips have commanded. My steps have held to your paths, my feet have not stumbled. I call on you, my God, for you will answer me. Turn your ear to me and hear my prayer. Show me the wonders of your great love, you who save by your right hand, those who take refuge in you from their foes. Keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings, from the wicked who are out to destroy me, from my mortal enemies who surround me. They close up their callous hearts, and their mouths speak with arrogance. They have tracked me down. They now surround me, with eyes alert to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion hungry for prey, like a fierce lion crouching in cover. Rise up, Lord, confront them, bring them down. With your sword, rescue me from the wicked. By your hand, save me from such people, Lord, from those of this world whose reward is in this life. May what you have stored up for the wicked fill their bellies. May their children gorge themselves on it, and may there be leftovers for their little ones. As for me, I will be vindicated and will see your face. When I awake, I will be satisfied with seeing your likeness. This is the word of the Lord.
Do you like a marble? I like a marble pretty well. You should have gotten a marble coming in the doors, but if you didn't, you can get one right now. Some of our greeter team can help you get one. Kids, if your parents will let you, you should have a clear marble and a silver marble. So there's some people in the back who, if you raise your hand, they'll come find you and get you one if you don't have one. I like marbles a lot. Do you know how marbles are made? A marble is made with sand, like sand from the beach. So if you go to the beach, you get a bunch of sand, and you put it in the oven. You just turn the oven to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't do that at home, kids, because you can't, and also you'll get in trouble, and also I'll get in trouble, which is even worse. So don't do that. But if you have the right equipment, you could turn sand into glass, and you could melt that glass, and then you can take that melted glass and you can put it on a table, and you take a hammer with two sides. One side has one color, the other side has the other color, and you smack it like that. You turn it over, you smack it like that, and then you twist it until it looks like a long, giant candy cane. And then you sprinkle cold water on it, and it breaks it up into little tiny pieces, and the blacksmith rolls those up, and you have marbles. Isn't that amazing? That's where this comes from. I love that. I love that somebody can take something beautiful that God made and they can make something more beautiful things. The other thing I like about a marble is that I just feel like I can look at a marble for a really long time. Do you ever find yourself just looking at a marble for a really, really, really long time? And the interesting thing about a marble is that if you look at it for a long time, you can turn it over and you can see all of its beauty. You can start to see other things in there too. For example, some of you, if you're at just the right angle, if you hold up your clear marble to me right now, you might be able to see something else in that marble. What else do you see? You can see me. If you look very, very carefully, you can see me, and there's something funny about me. I'm upside down. In fact, if you hold this up, you'll hear the whole sermon upside down. It'll all be backward. I'm kidding about that. That's not true. But I like that about a marble. Now, if you take this silver marble, this is a special one, only the kids get it, and you look closely at the beauty of that silver marble, what do you see inside of there? Look really closely. What do you see? You don't see me. If you're in just the right light, I can see myself. I can see myself in there. I think that's pretty cool. If you look into the beauty of a marble long enough, it's almost like you can see its beauty looking right back at you. And I think our relationship with Jesus is a little bit like that. I'm going to tell you why this morning. We were reading earlier from Psalm chapter 17. Now, I'm going to reread a couple of verses, and I want you to picture in your head what David is saying in these verses, starting with verse 10. He's talking about these enemies that are surrounding him, and he says, they close up their calloused hearts. That means their hardened hearts. And their mouths speak with arrogance. That means they speak pridefully. They have tracked me down. They now surround me with eyes alert to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion hungry for prey, like a fierce lion crouching in cover. Now, in the Hebrew language, David says something that I think is kind of funny. When we read, they close their calloused hearts, what David is literally saying is, they have so much fat surrounding their hearts that it swallowed their hearts up so it doesn't work anymore. I don't know if any of you played this game at Kids Club, Hungry Hungry Hippos. Did you play that? I don't know if we called it that, but you're out in the gym, and there's all these balls out in the gym, and you had to collect them and get as many as you possibly could and bring them back to your team. Did anyone play that game? Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I was jealous when you were playing that game. Nobody invited me, but it looked really fun. That's the way these people surrounding David think about their whole lives, like hungry, hungry hippos. Like, let me get as much as I can from everybody that I can. And when they look at David, they think, yummy. He's got money. He's got power. He's got beauty, and I want it. And he compares them to an animal. What animal does he compare them to? So, anyone listening carefully? What animal does he compare them to? Yes, a lion. I heard lion, not a hippo. That would be cool. A lion. Now, how many of you have been to the Indianapolis Zoo? Anyone been to the Indianapolis Zoo? Okay, I don't know if you know this, but at the Indianapolis Zoo, the tigers just had some babies. So 2 weeks ago, we went to the Indianapolis Zoo to see the tiger babies, and we couldn't. But here's what we did see that I thought was really interesting. The mommy tiger is kept over here, and the daddy tiger is kept way over here, because I don't think the daddy tiger takes care of babies very well. That's my theory. So what you could do, and this was really scary even though it was safe, is you could walk right between the two tigers. And what happened when we walked between the two tigers, I did not stay there very long, because the mommy tiger wanted to get to the daddy tiger, and guess who was in her way? We were. And she was prowling back and forth, walking back and forth, and occasionally she'd paw at the glass like this, and then sometimes she would roar so loudly that the whole zoo could hear it. And I thought, man, I don't know if I trust that glass enough to stay here, and so I left pretty quickly. It was scary. And if you looked at that tiger's eyes, you would see an animal that wanted to hurt you. That was a really scary feeling. Seeing an animal that wanted to hurt you. David says in verse 11, that's the way these people are looking at him. He says, they have eyes that want to throw me down. They have eyes that want to hurt me. It's a little bit like that scene in the movie Elf. Anyone seen the movie Elf? When Elf goes to prison and he says, it's just like Santa's workshop, except it smells like mushrooms and everybody looks at me like they want to hurt me. That's kind of how David feels right now. I don't know if it smells like mushrooms, but everybody looks at him like they want to hurt him. And here's the truth. Because we live in a sad, broken world that Jesus hasn't fixed yet, there are some times when people look at us and they want to hurt us. There are some times when people look at us and they want to use us for bad reasons. And that is a very scary feeling. Even to know that is a scary feeling. So here's my question to everybody. What does David need right now? What does he need right now? Well, he needs to be protected from his enemies. That's true. He does need that. But is there anything else that David needs right now when people are looking at him like they want to hurt him? I think there is. Look with me at verse 8. Here's David's prayer. He says, "Keep me, God, as the apple of your eye." Keep me as the apple of your eye. Now, you probably know what it means when I say you're the apple of my eye. It means I like you, I love you, I delight in you. That's what it means. And what David is saying in the Hebrew language, that's an English phrase we have, apple of your eye. But what David is saying in his language is he's saying, make me, here's what he literally says, the little figure in your eye. He says, make me the little daughter of your eye. Now, I don't know if you've ever done this. You probably haven't done it for very long if you have. But if you look carefully into the eyes of somebody else, and you look at them for a long, long time, and you look at the little tiny part in the middle of their eye, you start to see something. What do you see? You start to see yourself. And what David is saying to God is he's saying, God, what I need from you right now, when these people are looking at me like they want to hurt me, is I need to know that when I look up at your beauty, you see me as the little figure in your eye. I need to know that you see me as the apple of your eye and the delight of your heart, and that you remember every single word I say to you. I need that so badly right now because people are looking at me in the wrong way, and I don't like it. And I need you to look at me in the right way. So if you want to take your little marbles out, you'll notice the same kind of a thing, especially with your little silver marble. If you look at it, you look at its beauty, and inside of it, there's a little figure, and that little figure is you. And when you keep this week, put it somewhere where you can see it, I want you to think, when you see that little marble, I am the apple of God's eye. I am the delight of God's heart. And God remembers everything I say to him. Okay? I want you to say it with me. All right? I'm going to say it one more time, and then you say it with me. I am the apple of God's eye. I am the delight of God's heart. And God remembers everything I say to him. Okay? Say it with me. Adults too, here we go. I am the apple of God's eye. I am the delight of God's heart, and God remembers everything I say to him. That's true. That's true. Now, you might be wondering, how does David know that? Well, here's what I wonder. I wonder if David is thinking back to a moment in his life when God chose him to be his hero king. This is all the way back in the book of Samuel. You can see a little bit of the story in your bulletin, 1 Samuel chapter 16. God has just sent out his prophet Samuel to find God's new hero king for his people. And Samuel is looking for a king who, what would you look for if you're looking for a king? Somebody who's smart, somebody who's strong, somebody who's important, someone like Eliab. Samuel is traveling to Jesse's farm, a man named Jesse's farm, and his oldest son is named Eliab. And Eliab is strong and smart and tall and important. And so when Samuel comes and he says, I'm looking for God's new anointed king, Jesse says, oh, I know just the person. It's Eliab. Look at him. He's so smart and tall and strong. He's so important. And here's what Samuel says. It says, when they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And Jesse says, yeah, okay, fine. Well, here's another really important son of mine. And Samuel says, no. And he goes all through his 7 most important sons. And Samuel says, no, 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 no. And then finally, Samuel says this. So he asked Jesse, verse 11, "Are these all the sons you have?" And Jesse said, "Well, there's still the youngest. He's out tending the sheep." Who's the youngest out tending the sheep? That would be David. And he's not very tall, and he's not very strong, and he's not very important, and he probably smells pretty bad because he's been out with sheep all day just kind of writing music. And maybe Jesse looks at his youngest son and says, "Yeah, I don't know what that kid's going to do with his life. I'm not really sure how David is that important." So Samuel says, "Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." So he sent for him and had him brought in. And he, David, was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." Do you think maybe when David is surrounded by people who are looking at him like they want to hurt him, he's thinking back to this moment in time when Samuel, God's prophet, and Jesse, David's daddy, look at David, and they don't want to hurt him, but they look at him, and they just don't see him. They don't see him. They don't think he's that important. It's like they look at him, but then they look right past him. Well, not David. He can't be that important. And in that moment is when the Lord said to Samuel, I see him. I see him. David is the apple of my eye. He is the delight of my heart. Every single thing he said to me out in those shepherd's fields, I remember. I remember all of it. He is my chosen one. Because here's the truth. It is true that sometimes people look at us like they want to hurt us in a broken and sad world. It's also true, and probably more often true, that in a broken and sad world, people look at us, but they don't really see us. There were beautiful things about David that Jesse and Samuel just couldn't see. They didn't see the beautiful image of God inside of him. And the truth is that sometimes people look at us and they just don't see us. They don't want to be our friend because they think we're too young, or they think we're too old, or they don't like the way that we look, or maybe they think we don't have enough money, or maybe they think we have too much money, or maybe they don't want to be friends with us because we're a boy or a girl, and we just think, man, feels like nobody sees me. And God says, I see you. Even when other people don't see you, you are the apple of my eye. You are the delight of my heart, and I remember every single word that you say to me. And when you see that marble this week, I want you to remember that. If you're ignored, treated like you're unimportant, I want you to remember that. You are the apple of God's eye. You're the delight of his heart. He remembers every word you say to him. And teenagers, I want you to remember that too, because in junior high and high school, you're going to be asking yourself a question, and that question is, who am I? And the temptation is going to be to say, well, I'm going to decide who I am. Or it might be, this group of people is going to tell me who I am. But here's the truth. The only way you can really know who you are is by looking up into the beauty of God and seeing him gazing back at you. Who is that little figure in God's eye? That's you. That's who you truly, truly are. It's who you are reflected in the loving gaze of Jesus. Adults, do we need to hear this sometimes too? Do we need to remember I said adults, do we need to remember this too? Yes. Yes. Because some of us are in jobs that don't feel very important. And some of us are single moms or single dads. And some of us have been hurt by people, maybe even people in the church, and we wonder, is God on their side? And God says to you loud and clear, no. No. I'm never on the side of anybody who looks at you to hurt you or looks at you and doesn't see you. You are the apple of my eye, the delight of my heart, grown-ups. And I remember every single word you say to me. So speak to me. Speak to me. I remember. Sometimes I think we adults have a funny way of talking about Jesus' love for us. Sometimes we'll say something like, when I sin, It's okay. Because when God looks at me, he doesn't see me, he sees Jesus. Well, I'm not sure that's very nice. If I were to say to you, you're my best friend, and the reason you're my best friend is because whenever I look at you, I think of my other best friend. Does that feel very friendly to you? I don't think so. Here's what's true. God does see me, and he sees my sin. But because of Jesus, because of his work on the cross and through his resurrection, when God looks at me, he sees my sin, and he feels pity and mercy and compassion. And he says, hey, buddy, what are you doing? You're the apple of my eye. You're the delight of my heart. Why are you wandering in that direction? I love you. I love you. I love you specifically. That's good news. And if you're here today, and maybe you're exploring faith for the first time, I wonder if you've ever wanted a relationship with God that's a little bit like this. In fact, I bet you have. I was reading an article 2 weeks ago in the New York Times, and it was about the TV series Stranger Things. And it was talking about how if you really love Stranger Things, you can go to this immersive experience where you play act everything that happens in Stranger Things. And the author, who I don't think is a Christian, she said something I really resonated with pretty hard. Her name's Alexis Solosky. Here's what she said. There is a fantasy that many of us entertain about the art we love, that we might matter to the art as much as it matters to us. I don't know if you relate to that, but I related to that so hard. I want that beauty. The way it matters to me, I want to matter to it. And that is actually what Jesus offers to you and me. The beauty of the universe is saying, you matter to me as much as I matter to you. You can have that through the gospel. Now you might be asking, okay, I know how David knew that. How do I know that God feels that way about me? Well, notice what else David says. He says, after saying, make me the apple of your eye, he says, hide me beneath the shadow of your wings. Have you ever thought about that phrase? Hide me beneath the shadow of your wings? It's a picture of a mother bird who's protecting her little chicklets when a predator comes so that they're safe. Now, when the predator comes, does anybody get hurt in that situation? Not the little chicklets, but does anybody get hurt? The mommy does, because her wings are out here and they're vulnerable. She's protecting her little chicklets because they're the apple of her eye. Now listen to what Jesus says about himself in Matthew chapter 23. He says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent against you, how often have I longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers chicks under her wings. You are the apple of my eye. I have longed to protect you. And what Jesus did on the cross is he spread out his wings and he said, death. No, you can't have my little chicklets. They're the apple of my eye and the delight of my heart. I remember every single word they've ever said to me, so no, I will take the punishment of death for you. Isn't that a great thing to know? And through the resurrection, Jesus punched death in the face and said, never again. Now, one more thing I'm going to share with you before we close up. This is a secret. My wife, Brenna, is a superhero. I didn't think this was true, but I learned that it was true. One day, when my two sons, Caleb and Owen, were visiting me on the college campus I worked at a few years ago, they were crossing the street toward me. And as they were crossing the street, I noticed out of the corner of my eye a white truck coming like this, right toward them. And I also noticed out of the corner of my eye that the driver was looking down at their phone, texting. So don't do that. And I thought, I'm too far away. Only a superhero could save my kids right now. And then out of nowhere, I don't know where she was, I don't know how she got there, out jumps Brenna, my wife, right in front of the white truck. And she said, "Stop!" I don't know how the truck did it, but it stopped. And there were Caleb and Owen, and there was Brenna, and there was the truck, and I went, oh, and I saw the driver go, oh, because we all knew that mommy just exercised her superpower. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That's exactly what happened on the cross for you and for me. Jesus looked at death and he said, "Stop. My little chicklets right here, they are the apple of my eye. They are the delight of my heart. You can't touch them, death." Which is why at the very end of the psalm, David says this. He says, "Death to me is just like falling asleep. Because I know that one day I will be woken up and I will see God face to face. And when I look into his beautiful eyes, I will see my little figure inside of there. And I will hear him saying to me, 'You are the apple of my eye, David. You always have been. You're the delight of my heart. And I have remembered every single word you've ever said to me.'" Lord, we thank you that we're loved in Jesus. Thank you that you see us when other people don't see us. Thank you that you want good for us when others want harm for us. Thank you that you're here with us today. In Jesus' name, amen.